I shot a video back on February the 6th of 2020, and it was all about the coming crash of the stock market and our economy as a result of the baby boomers retiring and liquidating their assets and liquidating their homes, in a flood of assets and a flood of homes coming to market that the millennials weren't going to be able to afford, and we would see a substantial drop in the price of stocks and a substantial drop in the price of homes. And I thought it was interesting what made that not happen and what basically changed to make my prediction of doom and gloom go away. And the reality of it is it was the coronavirus. This was shot on February the 6th, 2020, so we knew nothing of what was about to happen. And what was about to happen was that the federal government was going to crank up the printing presses and pump about $10 trillion into the market. In the matter of a year, we were going to increase the money supply by 40%. And as a result of that, we avoided a substantial crash in the market. But yet, I watched the video and I thought there's a lot to be learned here. And even though, again, remember, it's from February to June, about 17 months, 16 months old, I think there's a lot to learn here. I learned a lot from it, and I want to share it with you. So watch this and see if you don't agree that things change, and understand how I was right when in February of 2020, but I'm wrong now in July of 2021 because of the coronavirus. Watch this. I want to talk to you today about the coming retirement crisis. Something that I've referred to in the past as the baby boomer sell-off and the baby boomer die-off. Our economy and all the world economies are driven by demographics. We are a consumer-based economy. And based on the amount of consumption of us, so goes the economy. Well, the largest population in the history of mankind was the baby boomer generation. Here in the United States, that represented 79 million baby boomers that were born between the years 1946 and 1964. I'm on the leading edge of it. We are reaching the end of our run. The first baby boomer retired in 2011. The last baby boomer will retire in 2029. The first baby boomer, statistically, will die in 2024, and the last will die in 2024. We've accumulated a lot of assets, many times not in the best of ways, because we were made a lot of promises that haven't been held true. But let's look first at the wave. This is a chart that shows the number of baby boomers that come to retirement over the next several years. And you can see the wave grows and then subsides. In 1966, I graduated from college. One of the things that sticks in my mind that I still remember was going to my mailbox 2 months before my graduation and finding 3 credit cards from 3 gasoline companies. Now, my grandparents never owned a credit card. I owned a credit card before my father did, because someone had decided they wanted to make everything that I might imagine that I wanted available to me immediately. They informed me that they had so much faith in my earning potential. They knew that as I matured and moved up the socioeconomic ladder, that I would make more money. So there was no reason on this earth why I shouldn't have what I wanted when I wanted it and then pay for it over time. This was maneuvered by the financial industries. We call them Wall Street. They saw an opportunity in my generation to expand something that was little used prior to my generation, other than for buying a home, and that is credit. No one had imagined that I could go into a furniture store and buy a sofa and chairs and a dining room table on credit. Nobody ever imagined that I would be able to go into a restaurant, hand a piece of plastic, and walk out with a full belly. It just wasn't imagined. But it was invented. My father and I had what was called a defined benefit plan. That is a pension. Through my generation, they became obsolete. Wall Street convinced me and my employers that I would be better off and my employers would be better off if, in fact, I managed my own retirement assets, or at least had a say in it. So for me, they invented a 401k, and then an IRA, and then a SEP IRA. They gave me so many ways to invest my money that it was unimaginable. Was I qualified to manage it? No, they knew I wasn't. And so they generated and created something called a financial advisor. It is the biggest growth of an industry from nothing in the past 50 years. The financial industry, through investments and credit, fed me everything that I needed to make sure that I would have everything I needed until the day I died. They even made a deal with the government so that if something went wrong with, if I had a defined benefit program, if I was in a union, if I worked for a governmental institution, that the government would come in and bail it out. They were taking care of me. Wall Street created a consumption-driven society. As a result of that, there was a mass accumulation of capital. And that capital became available for investment. If you look back in history, GE was not built on investment capital. Neither was Ford. They were built on the capital that they generated and the capital that wealthy people helped them grow their business. They were never built on the backs of the general public. That changed with the baby boomer generation. As a result, our Wall Street capital organizations grew massively, continuing to make wonderful promises to. Now, this generation, the baby boomers, is approaching retirement. Here's a chart that shows the wave once again. And as you can see, it's approaching its peak. Now, we are told that the average baby boomer has a net worth of something over $1 million. As you see here, here's how it's broken down. But wait. Let's make a slight adjustment to that. We all know what we call the 1%ers, those people who have really made it big as baby boomers. You know them, Bill Gates. We have several of them running for president of the United States now. Donald Trump. He's actually a little ahead of but they kind of skew the numbers for the wealth of the average baby boomer. So let's look at the wealth of the median baby boomer. Rather than $1 million, they have about $183,000. That includes the equity in their home. That includes the equity in their 401k, those securities that they own. That includes any savings that they have in the bank. But notice the $53,000 that makes up the equity in their home. That's what they've got after 20, 30 years of investment in their own home. Now, we also know that for the average retiree to live, he's going to need somewhere in the neighborhood of $40,000 to $45,000 a year. If he's a part of Social Security, $20,000 to $23,000 of that will come from Social Security. So that leaves him a shortage of some $25,000. If we don't sell his home, he's got about 5 years to live. The problem is, let's look at life expectancy. Current life expectancy is somewhere around 77, and it's programmed to go up. So who's going to pay for those extra 12 years that he's going to live? So what we've got now is a situation where the price of equities are at an all-time high. Real estate's at an all-time high. The stock market's at an all-time high. Bonds are at an all-time high. You name it, it's at an all-time high. And we've got the retirement of the baby boomers whose assets, who they own these assets, aren't enough to get them through their later years. So what has to happen? We have the baby boomer, we have the retirement time bomb. We, the boomers, have to liquidate. You know enough about business. When there's more supply than demand, what happens to price? When there's more oranges than there are buyers of oranges, what does the grocery store do? He has a sale. He cuts the price. He'll cut the price down below cost. He'll do whatever he has to do to get rid of it before it rots. Well, that's what's going to happen, and we're right at the crossing points. We have the boomers with the assets. We have the boomers with the need for the capital, and they've got to liquidate. Folks, that's a bubble. That's the bubble in the worst of possibilities. Because who's going to buy them? Is it the millennials? No. We baby boomers have pushed the cost of education so damn high that they are now burdened with education debt. They can't buy our house. They can't buy our Amazon stock. They can't buy our General Motors or Ford stock, or God help us if we own GE stock. They can't buy it. So who's going to buy it? It's going to go on fire sale, unless that one super organization that always bails us out, the government, cranks up the printing presses and prints more money and buys my Amazon stock at $2,000 a share and holds it themselves. Is that possible? Hell no, that's not possible. But wait. Was the last quantum easing possible when in 2008, when Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler Ford didn't, all showed up in the bankruptcy court? Was that possible? That somebody would come and bail them out? No, but it did. Our national debt went from $8 trillion to $18 trillion in 10 years. It took 200 years to get to $8 trillion. Is that possible? There's a coalition between Wall Street and the government. They'll do whatever it takes to save each other. And to hell with you and I. We can see that in Washington today. But let's don't go down that path. News I have for you is, as the boomer, approaches and gets into the liquidation period, he has to take this consumption economy and give it another mighty blow. Have you noticed in your community that there are a number of restaurants that are closing? Why is that? It's because us baby boomers aren't eating out as much as we used to. It's because us baby boomers have to stop our consumption. Have you noticed that your dad or your grandfather used to get a new car every 3 years? Now he's driving an 8-year-old or a 15-year-old car. He's not consuming anymore. If you want to know which stores are going to be the next stores that are going to close their doors at the mall, go find the big, expensive furniture stores. The young people don't want that furniture. And the baby boomers have stopped consuming it. They're going to live with the furniture they got until the day they die. So consumption is coming down. Assets are being liquidated. Real estate is being liquidated. I sell in the upper end of homes. The $750,000. Here in Birmingham, if you own a $750,000 home and you put it on the market, you have a 50% chance of selling it. What happens to the other 50% of the homes? And what happens to this ever-increasing inventory of homes that aren't selling? The last guy out loses. The person who sells now is going to get the most he's ever going to get for his home. The person who sells Amazon today is going to get the most they're ever going to get for it, because the liquidation sale is about to happen. We are crossing that point where I have to liquidate to sustain my life. We are crossing that point where the number of sellers are far surpassing the number of buyers. The other thing that's going to happen, unless the government stops this, and nothing past them, is there's going to be a shortage of capital. As a shortage of capital comes into place, the price of capital goes up. So interest rates will go up. As interest rates go up, corporations who have been spoon-fed credit are going to file for bankruptcy. Again, a 50% decrease in the value of assets is on the horizon. The last one out loses. So, is this the end of our civilization as we know it? Is the toilet going to flush and we're just all going to go down? No. There are some geniuses out there. You just need to look at our technology. It's going to move so rapidly and so fast, and it'll survive this. It's those millennials. It's those young people with bright minds and new ideas. And the wonderful thing about the human race is they learn from their mistakes. The younger people aren't going to make the same damn mistakes that my generation did. They aren't going to get wrapped up in credit once they get rid of the student loans that we burdened them with. They're going to learn. They're going to say, that's too damn painful, and I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to fall for that trap. I want you to look at something that just warms my heart. Look at what you're looking at right now. You're looking at YouTube. YouTube didn't exist, 10 years ago? And look at it now. There are I believe it's 300 million creators on YouTube. There are 300 million people who are saying, I'm going to give that a go. There are 16,000 of them that have over 1 million subscribers. That's 16,000, I'll guarantee you, new millionaires. And are they geniuses? No, they're entrepreneurs. They're creative people. I was reading an article, I'm writing a book about the changing way, how you can change your life, and how what I think is going to happen is the next generation is not going to chase the almighty dollar. You're going to learn from my mistakes. You're not going to have a BMW and a Porsche in your garage on your $750,000, 4,500 square foot house that you don't need. You aren't going to do it. I'm speaking to the millennials. You're going to become entrepreneurs. You're going to become creators. I was saying, I'm reading an article about what's happening in the art industry. How artists no longer want to deal with art dealers. They want to put their work on Instagram, and the buyers of art want to avoid the art dealer and buy direct. And so everybody gets a better deal and everybody comes out happier. These are entrepreneurs. These are the saviors of our society. These are the people who aren't going to take on the enormous debt and buy into Wall Street and what Washington is selling. A dream and promises that they can't fulfill. So even though I think there are some very, very dark days in front of us, and even though I think my generation better figure it out quick because the toilet's about to flush, millennials are okay. They don't have the money to buy these stocks today anyway, but they might when they're at 50% of the value. So that's my take on this. I think it's going to have a nice ending for those who deserve to have a nice ending. Wall Street, financial industry, you're done. You've done it to us once. You've done it to one generation. The next aren't going to let you do it to us. This credit thing you sucked us into, shame on you. Our society is not going to be run by government and Wall Street in the future. It's going to be run by the community. It's going to be run by the community who is there to serve and help the community to make a better life for all. It's not going to be run by the two political parties that we have vying for our votes now. One run by Wall Street, who wants just more of the same, and the others who want to just give you everything you need at no cost and allow the government to just keep running those printing presses. It don't work. Learn from our mistakes. It don't work. So, again, as I say, the beauty about the human being is it learns from its mistakes. We've made the mistakes. Don't you follow our path. Follow your own path. Discover who you are and why you are who you are. And then, once you determine that, find your passion. Find what's going to make you happy and what's going to give you fulfillment. And then pursue it. And educate yourself and put yourself in a position to live a better life. Do not chase the almighty dollar. It's bait and it's a trap. Okay. By the way, I'm writing a book about that because you need to know. You need to know who you are and why you are the way you are. Now you can manage your life. Okay. Excellent. Okay, that was enlightening. And again, I hope you recognize that it was done in February of 2020. But nonetheless, there's a lot to be learned there as to what's going to happen and how the markets are manipulated and how things change relative to the events that are happening around us. I want you as a retiree to watch your evening news, be aware of cybersecurity, be aware of how our medical field, our medical delivery system is going to change so dramatically as a result of the coronavirus, and how change is what drives your life and will drive your life for the rest of your life. All right, interesting. I'll keep talking to you.